So in this next section, what we're doing is comparing parts of the torso. I already went over some of the parts of the torso of the things that we've already looked at. For example, the bat, and a little bit with the cat, somewhat with the horse. And what we were looking at in particular on the torso is we're looking at the sternum and the clavicle and the scapula, and what kinds of differences that you might see with those. So some of the things that we've already talked about are the clavicle, that is the clavicle being missing on the cat because the cat is walking forward. And you might also expect it to be missing on the horse. And in fact it is, because the horse is again walking forward, not needing that lateral motion with the arms, so to speak. Now here we have the chicken. So if we look at the chicken is a representative bird. And in this case, we have the wing structure similar that we were talking about before. So I won't talk about the phalanges, the radius ulna, and the humerus too much. And in this case, the clavicle has been modified into this little bone right here. You guys probably know that is the wishbone. And the wishbone is going down here into the sternum. And the sternum, notice, is very large and supportive of those breast muscles, because the chicken or a bird mainly flies, although chickens don't fly that great, mainly fly by bringing their arms or their wings down or inward and then back out flat, but they don't really go upward. That is, mostly birds are using kind of like an airplane where their arms or wings are out directly laterally to the side. If you notice, the scapula on the back here are very reduced, and that has to do with what I was just saying, is they don't need as big of muscle groups in the back, just big ones in the front. So that is a big difference in the chicken or bird skeleton. Another thing is, this is the dog skeleton. Notice the dog is also walking on its toes. This is called digigrade. And again, they have a fairly large scapula. The scapula are supporting its somewhat larger body and big shoulders of the dog, enabling also it to run forward. So these muscles in the hip and the shoulder are going to enable the dog to be a good runner. And in this case, if I can turn this a little bit, there is no clavicle for the forward motion, and the sternum doesn't need to be very extended because it is not doing that inward motion with the arms. In this case, this is a mole. This is somewhat hard to see, but if you look very closely at the mole, you can see huge scapula sticking up. If you think of what a mole does for a living, it lives underground and digs underneath the ground looking for worms and plant material that it is eating, and so it's going to use its forelimbs as little paddles to move through the soil. If you look very closely, it has a lot of bones that are fused, literally making them like little paddles that it moves through the soil, and huge scapula that are sticking up supporting big muscles of the neck region, and also making that front part of their body fairly large for going through the soil. So that is enabling the mole to go through. That's